Welcome everyone, Costin here with the discussion about World of Warcraft, patch 9.2 Sylvanas, and the recent cinematic that's been making waves on the internet. The reception of the cinematic has largely been negative. Then again, pretty much the entire story of Shadowlands has had a very negative reception from the community. A lot of people think it's silly, a lot of people think the writing is very badly done, and a lot of people especially hate how Blizzard has handled Sylvanas in particular. They've made their front end center, the writing is bad, and everything they're doing, and even with the cinematic, diminishes her as a character and the things that she did in the past, the storylines that she was part of in the past. So what do we see in the cinematic? We see the inner conflict that's raging in Sylvanas ever since the jailer reunited her with the soul, a part of her soul that had been missing ever since Arthas had killed her, that had split off when Arthas had killed her. And we see the inner conflict between basically the Banshee and the Ranger General, as she is unable to reconcile with the horrible things that the Ranger General is unable to reconcile with the horrible things the Banshee has done. Now, there are many problems with this. I do want to mention a couple of things here. I do find it interesting to have story focus, if you will, on the undead and what it means to be an undead and the internal turmoil of an undead character, because that's something that Blizzard has typically not focused on that much in the past. I mean, there's been passing mentions, dialogues, even some quests and storylines, of course, but never really a full focus on it, which is kind of big deal that they're doing it right now with 9.2. The problem is they're doing it really poorly. So here's the problem with what they're doing in this particular cinematic. The first problem is that they're diminishing pretty much every single story that Sylvana has been part of since her death in Warcraft 3, including her story after her death in Quel'Thalas in Warcraft 3. So all the things she did in Frozen Throne, all the things she did as a leader of the Forsaken in World of Warcraft, all the storylines, her insights, all of that is significantly diminished because of this turmoil. And because of what they decided to do here by basically splitting her soul and having her then reunite with her Ranger General part. The Sylvanas we're going to get out of this is not going to be the same Sylvanas we've been dealing with for years. And this is Blizzard's idea at redemption. So that's a pretty big issue. On top of that, the cinematic, of course, there seems to be some things lacking in terms of the cinematics itself, like in terms of how things look. People have commented that the models in particular for Uther and Sylvanas as they're alive aren't that great. And there's some issues with them, I feel. And I guess it makes sense if you're only going to use models for one cinematic, or maybe a couple of cinematics, are not necessarily going to put that much effort into them. So there is something lacking with these models in the cinematic with the High Elf model of Sylvanas, in particular the Human Paladin model of her. Just something feels wrong as far as I see it. Like, otherwise, the cinematography, the visuals, they're pretty solid in the cinematic and cinematics in general, but it's still a big pile of crap. The other issue, and as far as I see it, a far bigger problem, by taking this route with Sylvanas, where she's basically being manipulated and used from the moment she died, because that's the implication, that she's been manipulated and working for the jailers since she died between Wrath and Cataclysm. There's a whole story that Blizzard has that she did try and commit suicide and then came back. And from there on, she was apparently under the control, sway, manipulation of the jailer. That also significantly diminishes her as a character and everything she did since that point. It makes her look really, really bad and terrible and ruins her entire storyline up until this point. Congratulations, Blizzard. And why is Blizzard doing this? For some form of redemption of Sylvanas, given the many horrible things that she has done. as a character. If that's the intent here, then the execution is pretty piss poor, and it just doesn't work. A lot of people don't care for it. I mean, there's been horrible characters in World of Warcraft that have gotten away with it or haven't. One of the things a lot of people appreciate about Garrosh is that he was true to himself until the very end. Same with Illidan. Like, Illidan did many horrible things in World of Warcraft, and in Warcraft in general, but Blizzard didn't whitewash that. And yeah, with Sylvanas, what it seems like, oh yeah, she did horrible things, but it wasn't really her, right? It wasn't really Sylvanas Windrunner that did all of the things that she did. And also, it's not just the horrible things, it's things in general. It's good things that she also did, she participated in. So the entire Battle for Azeroth storyline is now moot. It already was, to be clear. And now we have a situation where we have to question what was the value in this character for all these years if this is where we end up at with Sylvanas. There are ways to do a redemption storyline, or to have a villain or an antagonist or a bad person redeem themselves in some way, shape, or form. My personal favorite example is in Dragon Age Origins. Spoilers for that, but I do want to talk about it. And the character of Loghain MacTier. Loghain MacTier in Dragon Age Origins is a patriot of Ferald, and he's very suspicious of their neighbor Orlais. He feels, as he's dealing with an apocalyptic threat on his country, on his people, through the Darkspawn, the Blight, he feels that Orlais is also looking to take advantage of the situation and annex Ferelden. He, by the way, is right on this. There's some people who believe otherwise, but there is indication and even message and even the lead writer of Origins that indicated that Loghain was right in his paranoia, so to speak. Of course, what makes him a villain or an antagonist when he's opposed to you as the player, because you are a Grey Warden and he doesn't trust them, and he also seeks to pin the blame for the Battle of Osgiliath on the Grey Wardens. But on top of that, he also does some horrible things that he feels in his mind are justified to try and keep his country together and defeat the threats that are facing it. Now, these are extreme measures. Probably the worst thing that he does is sell elves into slavery to get coin to pay for his armies, to win the Civil War, to defeat the Darkspawn, as well as other horrible things or associations with horrible people. Then you defeat him, and you can spare his life and make him join you as a Grey Warden. And you can get his insights on various things. And he doesn't quite redeem himself. He doesn't get to be seen as, oh, everything he did was fine. No, it's not. That never happens. He acknowledges that what he did was wrong, even if he may have had the right reasons. And it's actually really interesting having these kind of conversations with him, getting his perspective, getting his insights on these things. Also having him change his opinion gradually if you actually get to know him, or through the years, because he does also play a role in the third game in Dragon Age Inquisition, where he talks about the things he had done and the reasons behind what he had done, and the consequences that his decisions had. He almost led his entire country to ruin with the decisions that he had made. Many horrible decisions that he had made in his mind with the very best intentions. And that's a good quote-unquote redemption story. That's how you make a villain that has done some horrible things, and you take that person and turn their character and their story around. But Blizzard has never really done this very well. We have the example of Kerrigan in StarCraft 2, which was absolutely terrible. And like, they whitewashed a lot of things they did with Kerrigan, and a lot of the crimes she committed, the brutal genocide, even if you will, that Kerrigan engaged in. And now we have the example of Sylvanas, because she just turned against the jailer at the very last moment, because she would never serve, apparently. She changed her mind after serving the jailer faithfully for a very long period of time, and only realized in the very last moment how horrible the jailer was and what he represented. Now, another problem in all of this, and the overall story direction that Blizzard is taking WoW in, is that their decisions with regards to the jailer undermine many of their own storylines, many of their characters, antagonists from the past. So the jailer engineered the creation of the Scourge and manipulated the Burning Legion, manipulated Arthas, manipulated those events into taking place so he could potentially benefit down the line. I understand what Blizzard is trying to do here. I understand that Blizzard is looking at this from the perspective of, oh, we want to make this guy as a villain have value. So how do we do that? Oh, it was the jailer's plan all along, right? With the Dreadlords, you have the situation with the Denafrius, the Dreadlords, the Burning Legion, the implications therein. So they're trying to make this villain seem authentic, if you will. And they're failing in a major way. Not only that, they're diminishing their past villains. I mean, Blizzard had introduced cosmic threats, or a bigger threat than the one we thought there was before, specifically with the Legion in Warcraft 3. But here's the thing, they did that in a very solid way. When we saw the Legion, especially after playing Arthas' campaign in both the human and undead campaigns, we had gone through his story, his fall into madness and into the darkness, and then we find out, oh, this was all the Legion's plan. That worked, and we took the Legion as a genuine threat from the moment they were introduced in the game, especially because of the way Archimonde was introduced in the game, where he just bursts out through a portal that he worked so hard to open up and fought countless armies to open up. He just bursts out and destroys the entire city of Dalaran in just one single spell. And we take this guy seriously, and he is established, and the Legion is established as a whole as a very solid, credible threat. That's how they did it well before. With the jailer, it's done in such a terrible way, and they're retconning so much of their own storylines of the things that have gone down. I mean, I have to ask the question, I mean, were the Titans the guys who created all life? Or are these the first ones that they've retconned? Blizzard has done retcons in the past, absolutely. Many retcons with their storyline. Many retcons, like from Warcraft 1 to Warcraft 2, Warcraft 2 to Warcraft 3, and so on. There's always been retcons in the Warcraft universe, but I don't think I've seen as much of an egregious example, or examples as we've seen with the Jailer and with Shadowlands in general. So it's done pretty poorly, and it's not only that it's a crap story with horrible characters that don't appeal to us in any way. We don't view the Jailer as a genuine threat. We defeated fucking Sargeras. We defeated the Burning Legion. We defeated the old gods, several of them, Kafun, Yaxaron, etc. We defeated the old gods. We've been fighting one cosmic horror to another. We can't take the Jailer as players in a credible way because he isn't a credible antagonist. And Blizzard's asinine attempt to make him seem viable as an antagonist by saying, oh, he was behind it all along, the only thing it achieves is it cheapens the story that had been before. This is the problem, by the way, with what Blizzard is doing right now with Warcraft. Not only are they releasing a game or an expansion with a crappy storyline, they're also doing, their current storyline is ruining the storylines that they had before. Now, I understand where Blizzard is in as a company. I understand that the big bad evil that they had established, well, we defeated that in Legion. That was the conclusion, as far as I'm concerned, of everything Warcraft had been building towards from Warcraft 1. Defeating Sargeras, defeating the Burning Legion, dealing with this force behind the Orcs, the Undead, the big bad evil that the lore had established from pretty much the very start. And we did that. And for a lot of people, it was a satisfying conclusion. Now, I have many issues with the way Legion ended up playing out, but it was a satisfying conclusion. The problem is, Blizzard still wants to churn out these expansions. So what do? Oh, we're going to make a new threat. That was there all along. It doesn't work. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work. You can't just introduce it, especially the way they did, where they've ruined the story that has been before. They have taken characters like Sylvanas in really bad and stupid ways, and they've just gone down a bad path with their characters, and no one cares about the Jailer. No one's taking him seriously. There are ways to introduce antagonists and opposing forces and big bad evils in much better ways. We've seen this with Blizzard games, with World of Warcraft. We've seen this in multiple expansions where they've done this successfully. The Jailer is an utter failure, and that's where I stand. And this cinematic, at the end of the day, is just more of that. It's just continuing down that path. And Blizzard just doesn't seem to be able to understand that, doesn't seem to be able to grasp what they've done. Or maybe they've just written the story well in advance, and now they're set on their course. Costin here, signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and enable notifications. And if you do enjoy my content, please do consider supporting me even with $1 via PayPal, Patreon, YouTube channel membership, or any of that, because it does help me a great deal. And stay tuned for more, because sadly enough, there is more of this fetid storyline coming, and it's a shame, really. Sylvanas was one of my favorite characters in Warcraft. I can't take her seriously in any way, shape, or form right now.